Isn't just what we do, it's who we are. It's how we identify ourselves.
What does bracket racing mean to me? It's my life. It's where my people are. My idols, my family, my friends.
Bracket racing is life. Bracket life. Hello and welcome back to the Bracket Life broadcast. Brandon and Andrew here. Andrew, it is great to have you back, my friend.
Glad to be back. Thanks to Rachel for filling in for me for a week there. Had a little snafu with my scheduling. Did not realize I was out of town and unavailable as we rolled into that episode. So she jumped on, did a great job, but glad to be back in the saddle.
Absolutely. We're getting awfully close to doing some hometown racing together. Well, not really. I guess we are going to race together pretty soon.
Yeah.
But just hometown racing in general.
I get to start kicking the season off Montreal, right? Which is close to hometown for you. That is a foreign excursion for myself, but that's okay.
Yeah, definitely closer for me than for you. But we'll make it there, right? We'll make it there together. We're gonna have a good time. Before we officially kick off the show, we want to start with thanking our sponsor tonight, Luskville Dragway. That's where, at this point, I'm going to be starting my Canadian portion of the 2024 season. So they head to Luskville next weekend for the Malcolm Carpentry opener. So it should be good. Nice. I'm excited to get back. I'm excited to see everybody again. Feels like forever, right? Because I didn't get to really finish the year with them all. So, and I missed the driver's meeting and everything like that. So saw some folks at the practice tree race, but still missed
different.
Yeah, a little different. Yeah, not as much time for hanging out at that point. If you are tuning in live, be sure to let us know you're here, right? We're excited for it, right? We already got a few hellos in there. Love to see everybody
chiming in. That's great.
Absolutely.
The interaction is the key part. That's what makes the show.
It is. Absolutely. And then as always, right, as you go through any questions, comments that you have, throw them up there. We can see them all. If it's worth talking about, we'll talk about it.
That's it.
Yeah. I'm excited for it. So Andrew, we'll dive into Canadian Countdown. Not a whole lot going on, or not at least a whole lot that we have wrote down here for this one, but that's all right.
Yeah,
we all lead up.
Well, that's it. But there was the last show, there was a ton of content, a lot of winners from a few weeks, and sometimes there's a week off. But certainly as the season kicks off, that'll quickly change as we have more results from all across Canada. So I guess, I feel like you should kick this one off, right? You know the players in the game in the first race at Galat a little bit better than I do. Not that they're unfamiliar to me, but you were probably watching it more than me per se. So what was happening at Galat?
Galat had a lot of Canadians. I would have loved to have been there, but there was a boatload down there. So I know Fred and Frank Auger was there, Phil Harvey, Russ Adams, and Louis Gagne went down. Wyatt Rankin rolled in. Those boys, I'm not sure. I know John drove. I think they all drove there. I think Wyatt might have flew home because that's just kind of how they roll, right? So good for them.
Professional driver.
Exactly. So they all had some decent weekends. Russ obviously stood above the rest for that one Wednesday night. Went down semifinal finish. Had a great run there in the 15K. So cover most of the weekend, right? I would think through that. And then Saturday night gave us something else to watch and hang out. So down to 11 in that shoot. I believe that was round 7, if I'm not mistaken. So and great lap. I want to say his guy was 2 dead 3.
Yeah, it was something
I think he was mid-teen, like maybe 16 total, I think Russ was, but Buddy's 5 total.
Yeah.
Now, don't quote me on this, but I am fairly positive his opponent did go around the next round and come up, I think, 70 red. So, that's how it goes, right? That's big money racing.
That is bracket racing in a nutshell right there, it seems some days. So,
yeah. Exactly. We got some big WDRA news. So I kind of heard about this a little bit before when we talked to them. So it's kind of exciting. And then this kind of leading to the potential future of what the WDRA might hold for kind of more central Canada or Eastern Canada. Andrew, if you want to hit that one.
Yeah, so, Western Canada. So, I guess indicating for East. So WDRA heading to Prince George, BC, so Nitro Motorsports Park. to present our bracket finals. This is, I don't want to say the first bracket finals that may be in Western Canada, because there's, I'm trying to think of if IHRA held anything out there, in their latter years, but it's certainly a big addition to the WDRA fold. September 5th to the 8th, 2024, presented by Laris Insurance. So it's a Canadian-only bracket final setup. So it's essentially a similar deal to what I guess kind of going out of this way with the other associations, right? But great job for the WDRA to recognize marketplaces and I mean, try to bring a group of Canadian racers together to do something special. So this will be fun to see how this comes together and how this works for them. Certainly an opportunity there, right? Western Canada's always been one of those places where there's been really diversity of associations rolling around out there, IHRA, NHRA. I know there was an AHRA kind of presence for a little while because that's used to be the home of it, and I think Spokane, Washington. But great to see this. Be interesting to see how it unfolds, and let the association war turn a new chapter and go even further down the pipeline here.
Absolutely. So it'll be exciting. Stay in it with some BC news. Mission Raceway Park, once again, I believe the only Canadian track operating to this point, had their second weekend out. So weather didn't look great for Sunday. Saturday was looking good. They double up, ran both races in one day. We don't have all the results. I saw a bunch of photos, not sure who everybody was. Got all the info from their Facebook page watching the Winner's Circle interviews, though. So really pretty cool deal, right? It's pretty cool. I love watching that. I'm excited to see where that keeps going. I was telling Andrew before, I'm excited for a regular weekend that we get all the interviews from everybody, and it's not a rushed kind of deal or anything like that, but really cool deal that Mission's got going on. So Nate Green wins race number 3 of Junior Thunder. Nate was in the finals with his brother the last weekend that we talked about. Ashton was a winner of Junior Thunder for race number 4. Lincoln Shrake wins race number 3. Lincoln, same thing, right? We've talked about this a bunch of times.
Starting off lights out to start the year, right?
Yep. Exactly. Same as how last year was, just rolling through them all. CL wins race number 4 in Junior Lightning. Chris Stone takes the pro win in race number 3, and David Rastad wins race 4. It was Jenna who took race number 4 in Junior Street. Sorry. Roland Lowen, race number 3 in Hot Rod, takes it down. And then the man, Craig Johnson, wins Super Pro in race number 3. Cool deal seeing Craig. I watched his interview I watched all these interviews actually when I got home tonight. But Craig's deal, so I didn't realize that this was that station wagon that he's driving. Yeah. That was the station wagon that he was brought home from the hospital in.
Oh, that's the original delivery wagon.
Yeah, that is the family wagon and has been forever apparently. So cool deal. Cool for Craig. I always thought Craig was cool and that wagon was wicked, right?
Yeah.
And so that just kind of makes it a little bit better.
There's so much more depth to it now, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So that kind of rounds up our Canadian countdown. For the most part, I said short and sweet. I think we're pretty excited to get to the main attraction tonight, right?
2 weeks when we get back at it, there'll be a whole bunch of season openers that have kicked off. So what we don't have tonight, we will certainly make up for in the next episode.
Absolutely. It'll be great. So now tonight for, what kind of everybody's waiting for. I've been excited to do this for a long time. Have Mike on to do an interview. It never really kind of worked out. I was always kind of not sure what we're going to talk about and whatnot. So, but it's, this is the time. So Andrew, without further ado, Mike Ogilvie. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Thanks, boys. Glad to be on.
Yeah. So, absolutely. So for everybody who might not know or might not be aware, Mike is my father-in-law. He does live across the driveway from me. So we're not doing this in the same house, but cool deal. So this is obviously very close for myself, and then for everybody else. Mike's been a big part of Bracket Life from the very beginning and big part of my program, obviously, as well as Rachel's. And so, yeah, exciting to have you on.
Yeah, just cool.
All-around cool guy.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, Mike, we want to introduce yourself to the masses at this point, right? For everybody who I'm sure most folks, have kind of heard a little bit about, Mike Ogilvie and the Ogilvie Motorsports and everything else that we have going on. We've talked about enough on here, but a lot of history I think that people don't know. So I want to dive right into that. How you got into, I don't even want to just say drag racing, but motorsports in general, and the whole story before, right? Give some context because a lot of people miss out on that stuff. So
Cool.
Wherever you want to start.
Yeah. Well, it gets back, we talked about it a little bit beforehand, but really to rewind the tape, my dad, I'll get most of it from him. He did race some NASCAR stuff in the Montreal area years ago. Of course, I wasn't around for that part of it. We moved up here to meet Mom in the area we're in now. But, me and him always loved the motorsports. He took me to a lot of events. I started tractor pulling was my first, touch with, actually getting to do it myself. So I was 11 years old at the time, and a lot of local fairs and stuff would have, what mini tractor pulling at the time. Started out just to be a garden tractor. We converted, that we did the campground with, and we convert it Friday nights and go pulling on Saturdays and Sundays. So I can remember that we were coming back from Chesterfield from friends of ours when we'd first heard about it. And Dad says, "That's something you want to try?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it." So we did that for quite a few years. We actually built a couple tractors as those years went on. Got closer to, did well with it. You're just a kid, so it was a pretty big deal to be wrapped around, because we started with the minis, and then there was guys building V8 minis. We started like a 4-cylinder mini class, trying to get it more economical for the younger guys at the time. It didn't really take off, but graduated into the mini modifieds, and then we were around the guys with the bigger stuff. And about the time we were considering that, I could see a driver's license coming. So we kind of steered into more of the hot rod stuff. So, bought some old cars here at the local wrecking lot. Dad helped me out, lent me some money, and started building, a 74 Duster at first, and, pro streeted that, and kind of got caught up in that whole hot rod magazine thing. That was all our Bibles growing up, that sort of stuff. So, just got immersed in that. It's where all your focus, all your money went. I knew I wanted to be, a mechanic or a newer technician, as they call us now, right from a very young age, right? Which I realized later in life when, my girls were deciding to go to university and they were wondering what they should be and all that. I didn't realize that wasn't a thing. I thought every kid knew what they wanted to be right from they were born. So, I feel fortunate for that. So, but, I had Dad to support me in anything we wanted to do. So we went from there, built some show cars, 3 or 4 show cars back in the day. And we traveled, very fortunate to travel, most of the Eastern United States, a bit of Midwest to the Street Machine Nationals. And that was kind of our focus, right? That's all pre-internet stuff where everybody in that thing that was anybody was going to the Street Machine Nationals, right? So it would be kind of like the US Nationals of our world now. So you build a car all year long to get there, right? So there was me and 2 or 3 other buddies, and we'd scrape everything together and build old trailers and have our dads haul us down there with the trucks they had and stuff. So that was a big part of our growing up, right? And then I always wanted the street cars to be, the pro street thing. You always wanted to go drag racing. I was, we did drag race a little bit in, a little bit of street racing, but more in the fall after the show car season was done. We'd go to Louisville, we'd go to Shannonville, and sometimes later on at the Street Machine Nationals, they'd have them in Englishtown and Norwalk where you had the option to go out and do a little bit of racing with your car. So we'd do a little bit of that. So that's probably my first taste of, what I would call real drag racing at a track. So that kind of went with there. I always wanted to go drag racing in my mind because I had such a passion for it. Like Dad would take me to the Gators and that sort of stuff, but knew financially it probably wouldn't be the best point at that point in life because we couldn't swing it. And once you're in, right? So
yeah, it's a deep hole once you start to dig that hole, right? So
yeah, so that was a big part of it, right up to the car stuff.
Yeah,
awesome.
It's neat how it all works, right? And cool still that you have all those cars that you did build, right? Yeah. You still have the Duster, and then ended up did you build the Rampage next?
Yeah, we built a 82 Rampage. That was kind of when everything was transitioning. Like, it's probably the internet sped this way up, but everything happened in the US, right? With the bigger population, and that's where all the magazines were, and that's where most of the money was, right? Very similar today with racing, but pre-internet, what was going on down south was about a year and a half ahead of our stuff, right? So when you could go down there with your cards and start, the guys that were winning or the really cool stuff was, your real tube chassis, powder coated, supercharged, really nice stuff. So I did well with that because you'd pick up what's going on down there and then try and duplicate it back here. And we're kind of ahead of the curve. So I always tried to keep, one step ahead. So, we went from, your basic back half Pro Street Duster type deal to a tube frame Rampage thing. Then, we had a little mishap at Lossville there in 99. We couldn't get her stopped at the track and wrecked it. And it was only a 2-seater. So it kind of worked out because Rachel was born shortly after, right around there. And we needed something with more seats if she was going to participate on the weekends, getting back and forth to the car show. So, and worked out for me, the low riders and the custom, the Chip Foose, Troy Trepanier sort of thing was going on in Hot Rod where they were, two-tone in the 60s cars and air ride and stuff. So we did a Buick there. We did well, both, very well locally with the car shows and then fairly well down south. We rode that for, quite a while.
So it's a little bit different path in the overall when it's getting towards like the motorsport sides for, you've gone through different forms of it, the hot rod deal. And a lot of people I talk to, right, have that thing where they've done the show car or a little bit, but that drag racing kind of latched on early. Whereas for yourself, it was really just slowly progressing towards that, right? Taking that Pro Street and watching that progress to become a passion for it, right? So
exactly. And it's similar, like when you think back, we still needed the trucks, we needed the trailers, we still did the thing, you sacrificed every night of the week to be ready. You planned on, losing them days for your holidays to get there, the same thing. Thursday night or Friday morning in the middle of the night, pack up, get rolling down there, same thing. Okay, Sunday night doing the math, how do I get back to work? Because, you still got to work pays for all this stuff. So that was so very similar to the racing. A lot less work because you just had to basically get there and wax the thing and sit in the lawn chair and talk about it. So it's
almost like being at a big money race, right?
Yeah, very similar. Totally different than our weekly deal. So.
So how so as you started to transition though, the drag racing side of things was kind of burning a bit more. How did that transition work for you to go from doing hot rods and having really racy Pro Street type cars to getting into drag racing? I mean, you're already traveling. That's kind of been part of it. How did that transition happen for you?
We're still we're still probably fairly involved with the cars. And then the St. Pierre family, Ian in particular, he was a technician I had at my shop years back. He run a lot of IHRA stuff, was dabbling around top dragsters. Dad was running Super Rod at the time. So, having him there on a day-to-day and seeing how he was making out. So I decided, I'll support you, sponsor them. And so I think for the first year, I sponsored them, and then you'd listen to them Sunday how it went, or, talk about it and stuff, kind of got involved with them. Then I got, stopping over there a night or two a week, give them a hand on the race cars. And then you guys all know, once you get around it, it kind of pulls you in, so then the following year we stepped up and I bought a tractor trailer set up and went all in on it and, wanted to be the John Force deal and, got everything all lettered up and ready to roll. And, so, sponsored him for that year. Also, we run, probably 8 or 10 races between a lot of national events, IHRA, did 3 or 4 divisionals, I think, that year with it. He did quite well with it. He was fairly dedicated to it for sure. His dad runs Super Rod, and, his mom, she took care of all the books, all the traveling, all the stuff. So they ran a pretty tight ship and were very good at the racing. So I learned a lot from them. So then I guess rolling into the third year, because I wanted to continue to support them. He'd bought a newer Mike Boss car at the time, a little longer when he was starting to, run faster. So we had an old hardtail Spitzer. So basically, and I'm a big block Dodge guy, so he was too originally. And so he had enough pieces and I had enough stuff for my street cars. And he said, you want a piece of motor together and we'll put it in that car. Try it. If you like it, we either have a full race car to sell or you can keep it or we'll do whatever we want to do. So that's what we did. So I had an old hardtail. I think it was 2000 maybe. So put a big Dodge in it and run the thing, go like 810 off the stop. So we decided to run a quick rod 890 with it. That's kind of where I learned. So I didn't know anything about, professional drag racing, certainly nothing about throttle stops, between Carolyn especially and they had a really good handle on the weather and the stop settings and all that stuff. And I just let them put a program in the car and try and let go. And so, but huge learning curve, right? Because you're racing events. Well, you know, Andrew, you've been there. You're racing against guys that you see in the National Dragster every week and not really sure what you're doing, but
that's one of those deals where you're jumping into the deep end of the pool where the sharks are, like, and that's your first foray into this, right?
Yeah. And with me, you learn a lot because I just, you know, I love race cars, right? Me and Brandon talk about this a lot. Like, I just love a race car. I love working on them. I love the sound of them. I love the look of them. Where, you know, there's guys that love to race, and then there's guys that love race cars, right?
Yeah.
And I love race cars. You know, I enjoy the racing. Don't get me wrong, but you know, it hasn't been you know, I've won my share. I'm proud of what I have done, but you know, it's not I don't get super upset, but I'm more of a love the car part. You know, Darrell Walter mentioned that years ago too, and I thought, okay, that's very similar to me. You just love them, right? So, but so to be there and to be able to do that at that level, and you're with all the big guys, right? You get to watch the fuel cars, you get the whole event, plus you get to participate in it. So that was cool.
It was quite the unique. That many of you would have been right during the heyday of the IHRA, where it was just a fantastic group, a mix of fantastic sportsman racers and just a real dynamic pro, right?
Yeah,
so,
and the pro mods were big, you know, just getting into their own. Then we get 30, 40 pro mods showing up, and you know, Mountain Motor Pro stock, all that stuff, right? So yeah, it was cool, very cool.
So from the quick rod days, you how did you transition from there? Like, what was the process? Because I can see, like, as the way you talk here, that the bug's set, we're rolling. You've got a real passion for this now, and you're in the deep end with everything else. So where did you kind of progress from there?
We ran that right up, I want to say 2009. Then we decided Ian was, you know what I mean, wanting, I think, to do maybe the next level. So that's when we looked at switching from the IHRA stuff, try a little NHRA Division 1. Mm-hmm. So we did a season of that, and we did well. And, you know, it's a different track and a different feel to it, right? So we enjoyed that. And then I want to say it was Epping, probably of 2010. Rachel came with me, and we hung out for the weekend, and she's seen a junior. Actually, Tommy Orr was there. Jamie Claremont was there. I think Tommy was running maybe top dragster at the time too. And he might have the pro stock car at that point. I can't remember, but I remember talking to them, and Jamie and Stephen had been running it at junior at Lusville, right? And I hadn't been to Lusville in years at this point. We'd go down maybe once a year with a street car, and they were talking about it. And there was actually a little junior car there. So we went over and had a look at it. And that's when Rachel said, well, that'd be neat to try. And I'm, well, they're not a toy, you know, and you have that whole conversation. But that kind of was the first, I'd say, I'd seen a junior dragster and looked at it and realized, like, it's a real race car and it was a thing, and that it actually happened an hour and a half from the house, right? So, and you know, and you get to the point, we've all discussed it, and we're kind of leaning back a little bit now the other way, where we were leaving Wednesday night, right? And it's tough to roll out of a bit, like, you know, being self-employed, to roll out of there Wednesday night. And, you know, you might, if things went really well, you might not roll into Monday night, depending on how the race goes.
Good case scenario, you're coming back Monday night, right?
You know,
that's
kids are in school and Vicky's trying to run the business, and you know, that starts playing on you a little bit, where it's, you know, it's tough going. So, and with the kids being where I was raised with dad, and we started in the motorsports, you know, and having girls is the other thing. You're like, okay, that's probably not a path we may go down, right? You probably didn't even consider it thinking back. Anyways, we decided we were getting ready to go, I want to say to Atco, wherever the first race would have been, the Division 1. Mm-hmm. And we decided to go down and test the throttle stops on both my quick rod car and Richard's super rod car, just to get the stops, because we'd freshen motors, freshen training, change the program up every winter, and go down, get a handle on the stop, right? So anyways, we went down there, and Ian dominated on the bracket side of things, because that's kind of where he started, right? So he was good at that. And then I had some fun. We got seeing the juniors. You know, when it gets back to Arnie's like, we stop back at Buster's, right? The Bar and Grill Sunday nights, the group of us, and have dinner and hang out and stuff. You're welcome to swing by. So I'm like, oh, well, we need something to eat. Where is it? And, you know, so we got to sit. That's what did it. We got to sit with them, and, you know, Arnie and Derek and Troy and the guys, and they're like, you know, we had fun. It was pretty cool. You guys look like you're having fun, and just to get the family thing going.
Yep.
So that's kind of where it started, right?
Yeah. That's where I guess this is where we kind of transitioned to the fleet aspects of
right.
The first rendition of the fleet, right? So
that's where it all started. So, and then it was probably that winter where we decided on the junior. Rachel talked about it. They were both young at the time. I think Rachel was 13, Ash was 10, somewhere in there, and we talked about getting one. And I had a spare engine for the quick rod car, and Kevin Reynolds, they kind of were getting out of the junior. They dominated the juniors. They were getting out of the juniors, getting Mike into a Super Pro car. Needed an engine, needed some help with the technical side of it. So I was like, well, let's make a deal here, right? I'll trade you junior for an engine. And I said to the girls, how we'll start is we'll get one car. One can drive it one weekend, and one can drive it the other, because, like I said earlier, they're not toys. So I said, it's quite an investment, and then just see if you guys want to do it. Well, that lasted maybe a month, before, once you get looking, right, we found another one actually up your way for sale.
Oh, yeah.
And ended up with two of them going into that season. So we ran the juniors for, I want to say 4 years, until both the girls turned 16. They did very, very well in them. We had fun. As we all know, they all grew up the track, made the best of friends. They actually met Brandon and Nick through the whole thing, right? So it's kind of awesome how the racing molds your whole life, right? Yep. So that's a huge byproduct of all that stuff. But ran the juniors for 4 years. As soon as Rachel turned 16, she they're always waiting to get into the next step. So bought a car, went to look at a car, actually, from a buddy of mine. Brought it home. On the way home, actually, Vicky mentioned that she may want to try this at some point. So I'm like, okay, well, you don't let that slip too often. So I think probably by the end of that weekend, I said to Vicky, well, this is your car. Then if you want to try it, we'll start looking for one for Rachel. So anyways, we did. So Vicky kept that car, and we found one. I want to say, I can't remember exactly, but within another month or two for Rachel. So she got that.
The three drakes.
I guess, right? Yep. So then somewhere in there, I sent the hardtail down S&W at the time and had it 4-linked. And I think we ran it for maybe 1 or 2 years at Lustville. And then, well, it'd be 2012, because then I ordered a new M&M, and that's still what I have now. So that got us up to 3 cars, I guess. And then, so we went with that 4, I guess, 3 big cars, and Ash still in the junior.
Yeah.
So run that till she was 16. And then we got an eye on Tupper, ended up selling me the Moneymaker. He said he'd never sell it, and then pushed him to shove there one day. I was working on him a little bit, and he said, well, I know you'll look after it. So he wanted to see Ashley in a nice piece, so we bought that, and so I got us up to 4.
So, and now we're officially in fleet territory, right?
We're in fleet territory, yeah.
Yeah.
Then when Brandon comes along, now we're in 6 territory, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And then now we got a Camaro that's almost a full race car. So so we got 7 there now. If you go walk around there now, there's 7 race cars in there. So it's a busy spot.
Incredible. Absolutely. Yeah. So as you got into that, so maybe this is a good spot, because it's really amazing, right? How you guys have developed the family race team, right? Like you started off with the interest that you personally had, just how it grew for the girls, and then when the girls got old enough, Vicky gets in, and now you've got everyone's involved with it. I guess the question I would have here again starts to go into this. So how, like, and this is coming from someone who has 4 race cars, but they're not all active at once, right? But how did you manage to figure out the systems to be able to look after all this? Because I mean, I vividly remember being a kid myself. So my dad had a car. My brother and I were very lucky. Like Ashley and Rachel, we both had juniors. It was a wild ordeal trying to figure out how to turn 2 juniors in a door car, or super gas car around. Now you've got 4 full-size cars with 3 people that have been around a lot, the racing, but like, this is a completely different mechanism. So just maybe go into like how you develop the systems, how you figured this out, We don't need to get into necessarily the direct stories that maybe have implications, but just,
that'd be a 4-hour show, that one, but basically just trial by fire, right? We're very, very fortunate. Me and Brandon talked quite a bit about actually in the last week, everything's been going on, but we're very fortunate straight up to be in this business, right? We're in the mechanical business, and our race shop's right beside the main shop. So like we're 50 times a day, back and forth, get a tie strap, you know what I mean? Weld this, grind that, machine this, do that. Like, so having that is what I've really realized makes the difference, to have everything you need there to be able to do 99% of your own work, to have a lot of, spares, be prepared, we got the cars pretty well there, other than mine with the supercharged combinations, and being the Dodge is kind of a unique thing. But the other 3 cars are pretty much the same. We're trying to get fuel pumps, carburetors, alternators, starters, trying to get that similar to the same setup, helps a lot. And you guys know, we couldn't do it without all our friends, right? Because you get to the track, something breaks, somebody else's stuff don't start. There's always a lot of guys there to give you a hand. And then as far as the maintenance side of things go, Vicky keeps track of the oil changes. We try and keep track. Every Sunday night she'll do a run count to see how many cars run what, and then for valve adjustments and oil changes, and we try and stay on it. And we all know that kind of depends how your week goes, right? We all have great intentions Monday night to start on our maintenance program, then work and life gets in the way, and Friday night you're convincing yourself the valve lash is going to be okay till Saturday night, till after dinner at the track. And,
so we'll get to that at 6 p.m. on Saturday, right? And that's yeah.
And it's a different dynamic, and a lot of guys do it, but I got to slow down once in a while and realize, okay, I'm putting my babies and my wife in these things, right? That 4 or 5 times a year, and you guys have all been there too, where stuff happens, and it's a reality check. So with me, that's the biggest thing for me. Am I in the right mindset that I'm good to let my wife and my girls get in these rockets, right? Because we tend to take it for granted. So with me, if it's okay, I haven't had the body off and done a nut and bolt check or check for cracks, and we're going to do that before we lash the valves, right? Yeah. So that's the balance that I find the toughest, is that peace of mind that they're going to be safe, as safe as they can be, right? So
yeah, and I find that, like, as a motivating factor, the way I'm taking this, right? Like when it's someone else, like there's been times I've certainly looked at my car and went, it's fine and it's me, I know where I'm at. But when you've got your loved ones and then people you really care about, the motivating factor of having that, unwritten checklist that we're going to go top to bottom on, right? Certainly is a big motivating factor, right? But keep our you're developing systems, right? Like what I take from you just listen is there's this unwritten checklist front to back, up to down, right? To go through and in a weekly-ish schedule, right?
Yeah. And you know what I mean? The girls have been in some situations in the juniors and in their big cars, and I've seen them, they've done very well with it, and they do have, I feel, the common sense to get out of the thing when you need to, but we've all overdriven them and we've all done stuff, right? So, but for the most part, it works. And once you get into the flow of it stays together, and having Brandon and Nick, like Nick, he's been with us probably 10 years at the track. That's where, that's what Nick did for us still continues to. Is be there every weekend and, stay on the tires, stay on the fuel, stay on the, helping me just make sure the stuff's good, get it loaded, get it unloaded. Cause that's the big part of the, when you're unloading on Friday night or Saturday morning, and then the rain, that sort of stuff's when it gets the most hectic, I find. As far as the racing part of it, they're going to break, we can fix them. But that's the big thing. Right.
The extra help and
yeah.
So is it would it be ego inflating to call him like a car chief? I'm not quite sure. I don't want to get stepping on territory that's a problem here, but
yeah. His ego's got a little bit of room, not a whole bunch, but
a little bit, yeah. But that's a key part though when you start looking at these type of things, right? Like that extra set of hands that's just dedicated to wandering around to deal with all these little things, right?
And just remind me and stay on it, right? Because we've, what I mean. And you've been there, and Brandon's been there a fair amount. When Nick's busy now in the company with us, running the towing company and staying home to wrench sometimes when we got to roll. And we've had some events since he hasn't been there. Just with it's got us out of routine.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. To find a new normal in a sense, right? To figure it out. Yeah.
For sure.
I find it's different too with my switching from my own racing, right? Race with 2 cars, and then whether it's just myself driving the 2 or myself with Daniel. Um, I have my system for my car, and I can do that, and I have my system for the 2 cars, so that I can flow with that. But nobody else is in my space, right? Nobody else when I'm doing my thing. Nobody else is driving those cars. Nobody else is feeling whatever I'm feeling during it. Nobody's putting fuel in it or do it. Like, I have my own mental sheet that I do, right? And that's for mine. But then once you start putting other variables in there, and then you're in a different mental space too, right? Because of whatever happens this round for you, right? You're thinking something else when you get back, right? You have a good round, or the car doesn't work, or you lose. Then you have to get over that and go, and then you don't just have time yourself. There still are 3 other race cars, obviously, Mike, in your case, right, that are still running,
right,
or have something else that you need to be a part of or be aware of. And especially if there is part of the system that then gets missed, then it just unravels all around us. So then I found, having to adjust myself to just parking beside you for the most part.
Yeah, no doubt.
Right. It gets a little stressful to watch at times. And I've said that before, but it's interesting how it all works, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. You've been there lots, and I don't realize it as much because that's just the way I'm used to rolling. And that's my thing. Like, I'm probably an adrenaline junkie. You know what I mean? I love that. If somebody else's stuff's broke, right, I want to see how quick we can get it fixed and get them out there and just keep it, that's kind of the way I'm wired. But I get a lot of people that, come to you later that night and go, I watched you all day, and man, you can't keep this up, or you can't. I'm like, what? But it's, I for the most part enjoy it. It wears me down a little bit now that I'm getting older and stuff, but I don't see an end coming to that, because it's, to have everybody there, to see the kids excel, and we've been through it, and I won't get into a big sentimental story on it, but to see the girls grow up at the track, in this world now, to win, to lose, there's no participation awards. There's no, you lost. Anything we can do? No, sir. We can try harder tomorrow. Right. And it's, and just see their friends win, see their friends lose. It's a pretty neat way of growing up. It's taught them a lot, and then respect for the cars, respect for the sponsors, and to be around great people. Like I said, my whole world now, my succession plan, my whole surrounding, and my best friends are because of that. Right. So that's the cool part. So, if it takes a lot of work, or it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah. And I think that people don't, when we talk about this, like, I don't know if everybody understands how kind of in-depth this is for us here, right? Because it's hard to sell it or to explain it to somebody else until you're here doing this, right? Like, we kind of talked about the story, and that's what the next the YouTube vlog is going to be on, is all the preparation. Had a car show last week, for anybody who wasn't aware of that, and I want to say Saturday morning, it was a mess. And then by Wednesday night, right, all the cars are in and loaded. Yeah. And that's just 5 straight days of doing it. Saturday all day, Sunday all day, Monday you work 5:30, 6 o'clock. Everybody's there till 10. Yeah. Tuesday we're there till late. Wednesday we're there till late, and that's just, it's full time work. But like, there's nothing else that
nothing else you want to do. And then what I mean, and add to that, we had one man in particular, but some very close friends, just with the connections you've made, roll in there Monday morning. You know what I mean? Give me a list. We're going to make this right for me and my family. Right. Yeah. So it was, it's amazing stuff like that. And Brandon, that deadline was pushing pretty hard on us with everything we got going at the shop. And I'm like, we're not going to be able to get the whole fleet there. We'll be able to get what we have there. And if some of them are going to look like race cars and not even be able to run, to a point where we got all 4 cars there. We could have had yours there, because we ended up swapping out your engine also. Mm-hmm. And, we had 4 race cars driving, and actually they could have competed by the time we threw them in the trailer, 10 o'clock on the Wednesday night, to make a commitment for Napa. which has sponsored us for, probably 15 years looking back, if not more, and, and sponsored Lustville also. So it's, you need to pay those things back. And I was grateful to pay them back. We needed a full effort to get there. Right. So.
And I think that's maybe a big part to have to this, right? Like to do what you're doing with the size you have. I mean, you've got a lot of partners in all this, right? And a lot of companies that you've worked with and that have worked with you, and in price, return, you've given a lot back in the sense of, outside of even the drag racing world, right? With help and whatnot. And, maybe that's something to think, like, to talk about here now. I mean, that's not that I'm looking for the specific sponsor plug, like the NHRA style, but like there are a lot of companies that support you a lot to make, a multi-car team like you've got happen.
Yeah, for sure. Like I say, Napa's been with us for years. We have Stinson's. They're a huge company in our area for furnace oil, motor oil, and gas bars and gas stations and stuff. They've surrounded us for years, so it's been very good. Tire Discounter stepped up and helped Vicky, right? And then we got a lot of local people that pour their heart into it. A lot of friends that pour their heart into it, and our companies is Ogilvie's and AC Towing. That's the majority of it, you guys know, but it's all worthwhile. And and then we probably, as Ogilvie's, we sponsor a lot of stuff that goes on because we're big believers in the sport, both dirt track stuff. We sponsor a local series out here at Brockville Speedway. A buddy of mine, son's run on dirt modifieds for years, so we've sponsored him for probably 15 years now. Randy and Brody Belfoy at the track. Randy works for us during the day, so they've been good to us. So we try and help them out as much as we can. And then Stephen Ballantyne and his family, they've been very successful in semi-pro. So we've stuck together with people that have helped us, and it's been very, very good, and we enjoy it for sure.
And that speaks a lot, right, to like the family environment that you talk about, right? You look at the people around you as extensions of the family, and you treat them as such, right? And and you need to, like, as we all know, we need to look after the local tracks, right? Like we all got aspirations to go and do big things and all that stuff, but we got to look after where we came from, and in my case, we'll come back too, right? Like I was at Lustville a lot when I was a kid to watch racing, a little bit with the car show stuff and back and forth, and then you were gone for quite a while, right? And then that came back and changed my life, right? So you gotta look after that, right? And there's a lot of racers that won't be able to travel and do the bigger things, and we gotta look after that stuff. Absolutely, yeah. That grassroots effort, right? Like there's it's looked at sometimes as a jumping off point, but for so many folks, like that is the pinnacle. Right. And it's nothing wrong with that at all, because that is a fantastic environment to be in. Right. And if not looked after, I mean, it's a travesty when you see them go away. And we've seen that in the US, and
for sure,
it's a scary thing when we watch it. We've been very lucky, particularly in our part of Canada, it's not been a thing, but that's a big part. So,
and then highlighting all the different things that Ogilvie's is involved with, between different race series, different racers. Right, it's a cool deal and goes back to loving motorsports as a whole, right? And race cars as a whole, always been something I haven't had much experience outside of exactly what I do, right? So then this I get to open my eyes a little bit to the outside world, right? And learn some more, because cars are cool, motorsports is cool.
You just weren't around for a lot of it, Brandon.
That's it. Exactly. Right.
I did a lot with your grandpa Jim, and your uncle Steve, and they did the show car. They did more of the racing, but then they did a lot of the show car stuff during the winter too. So
so it's cool how it all kind of comes full circle with it now.
For sure.
Something else that we haven't hit on yet that you're involved with, but obviously have a big and have a big passion for, is the team that's on your shirt, right? The Peyton Racing team, the Top Fuel cars. So with moving forward with that's cool opportunities to come.
Yeah, it's probably the biggest thing that's for me that's happened in a long time. As funny as that sounds, but I've been infatuated with Top Fuel cars since I was a kid. My dad took me to the Gators in '79. I got pictures with me and Shirley, Don the Snake. I still got all the pictures, right? And I remember saying to my dad at the time, like, what do we got to do in life to be involved with anything like this, right? And all he could give me an answer was, not sure, just keep working, right? So that's what we've done. But have the opportunity, especially with Peyton's, because you guys know they've been I would say the only successful top fuel operation, and they run the top alcohol cars, like they've been 40 plus years in Canada. Anytime we went to a national event, and we run IHRA, we actually, Todd and Barry were there, and Tony was crewing. They were there then, and I knew who they were. Of course, they wouldn't, know who I was at that point, but you idolize those guys because they were Canadian first, right? And what it takes to field a car out of the country and to compete at that level, I understood fairly early, right? And so you have this anticipation of these people. I got diecast stuff, right, with Tony's car on it or Todd's car on it and stuff. So pretty infatuated with the whole thing. Anytime they went, you always tried to figure out how they were going to make out and stuff. And then quite a few years ago now, Tony, because he runs Fast Eddie, we got doing some t-shirts with him for the Ogilvie's brand. And, you guys, Brandon and Rachel, he's helped them out a lot with Bracket Life and did all their apparel line and all that stuff. And we get to see him up at Elliott Lake. He'd have a booth set up there. And, we're always talking fuel cars. And, I was telling them my passion for it. And love to get more involved with it as we move forward. So, took a few years of back and forth, and Todd's helped us a lot with the race pack too. So we always kind of had a bit of a conversation about the whole Canadian thing. Got the opportunity last year to help them out on it. That was my passion. I don't think it's a league that I'll ever afford to do for a lot of reasons. As you guys know, it's a car I could probably afford in my lifetime, the mechanical side of buying a race car. But like I heard this years ago, and it's not wrong. And the more I've been around it, the more intriguing it's been. Like there's less than 50 dudes on the planet that can tune those things properly. Yeah. Right. And you just got to wrap your head around that for a few minutes to realize what they're up against. Right. So that's the coolest thing for me is the whole technical side of it. So it was kind of my life dream. I said to Tony, I want to see my name on one. I want to be at some point standing at the starting line, knowing I had something to do with that thing, making it A to B. And, that's bucket list stuff for me, as funny as it sounds. But it's, we've done, a couple Vegas races with them. I did some match race with them there last year. And just to see the passion, like the work, like the average person has no idea what that takes, to get that car and the transporter and the people and the equipment to take one race car, haul that thing, whatever, anywhere from 3 days away from home to, a day away, to unpack that thing, a couple days of setting it up, to run that thing for less than 4 seconds, tear it apart, completely rebuild that thing, back together, drag it up there again, do it, up anywhere from 4 to 8 times a weekend. The work is crazy.
Well, as you say, I just do the math on it, right? All that work in a successful weekend is going to be 25.9 seconds of run time between 3 qualifiers and 4 rounds, right?
So the passion of anybody wanting to do that for that long, it is what amazes me the most now that I've been around them, and I see Yvonne's on there, but like they work unbelievable, right? From the crack of dawn till night, and then they're there the next morning tearing that thing apart, and to make the show, make sure they get it in the show, and do what they can. So it's a huge thing. And then the technical side, like it's so cool. Tony will text me, kind of what they're trying to change for the next round. Like last weekend, I couldn't make it down, but it's just to see how small clutch adjustments, fuel timing, little stuff will either get it there or it won't, so it's pretty cool. I can go on and on about it, but I won't take up the whole show.
It sounds like you've had a great you had a view kind of peek in the door of just like what we all really probably realize is an awesome world, but don't really get the chance like you've had to see it. And it sounds a lot like what you kind of figured would just it's incredible to see how they make it happen. And
it is.
I can see the passion on this for you too, right? Like it's just we talked about this a bit, and it was awesome to.
And I'm pretty addicted to work, you know what I mean? But probably the 3 races I've been at with them, it's the only time you're not thinking about what's going on at home or what's stressing you in life like that. You're just all in on that.
Yeah.
It's the coolest thing, right? And I'm still hands off. I'm just glad to be able to be part of it. I'm glad to see my name on it. I'm there to assist if they need anything and moving forward, right?
Yeah.
So it's something I plan on, being connected with them as long as they'll have me, and where we move forward with it. Since the passing of Barry, unfortunately lost Barry 2 years ago. Tony and Todd have decided to keep this going, and they're doing very well with it. We've had different people in the car the last couple of years, and they get some guys that want to turn this into a career. So they put up a lot of the funding and get a proven team like the Paytons and the whole crew they got, very capable of making the show and getting some racing once the funding's available. So that's what they're doing. They got young Cody Crones in there now for this year, and he's based out of Chicago. They're going there next weekend, so I think they're planning on some big things. And Charlotte last weekend, they got it rolling down there 4 good laps, and then I think they got some stuff sorted out in the final rounds there. So it's going to be a good summer for them. I think they're committed to at least 6, maybe a possible more races, and then I think they're actually got a couple match races lined up here in Canada, and I think some stuff in New York State. So we're going to try and get to as many of them as we can, and and keep rolling with it.
So what I'd maybe would transition here a little bit for you is going to look into the future for what you're doing with your program. And based on the amount of time you're spending going to NHRA races, I don't feel like it's a stretch to suggest that maybe some of your equipment might be getting geared up to follow for some of the closer ones as we go forward.
Yeah, for sure. I don't have any definite plans right now. We're working a little bit towards speeding mine up to do some top dragster stuff. Brandon wants to try some throttle stop racing, the stuff that I started back then, just to try it. He'll do very well at it because he's a way better racer than I am. And for me, having a bit of throttle stop experience now, and then the talent he's got behind the wheel, I think it'll be fun to go back and relive that.
Absolutely.
But from my standpoint, I'm capable of picking mine up, probably another 3-4 tenths. So we're going to try that, maybe try a couple national opens and maybe some divisional races with the hope in the next year or 2 to get some grade points. That way, if their guys are Paytons are going with the fuel car or something, I can go run top dragster, then you got your accommodations there, and your family can come and be able to assist them if they need it and be part of that, and then do some racing. So that's kind of the way we're shooting out there for now.
And it's kind of funny in the big picture, right? Like we started the conversation talking about how you got into drag racing, right? With a family, that kind of took you under their wing and brought you in. And, we're talking about now where, you're looking at taking your family and hitting the road with the same type of divisional, national type aspirations, right? And, following the same type of fuel team that you were seing back in the day, but now being part of it, right? It's kind of a circular, full circle deal, right?
And the other cool part with the Paytons is it's not a sport. It's not something I could take, you know what I mean? I don't have a huge amount of money to throw at that, but it's not something you can just who else are you going to get that you could talk to that, that's going to take you serious enough to give you a chance to help them at a smaller level, with the hopes that, I can keep generating more and turn it into more. Who else are you going to get that? Then ultimately you get the people that were kind of your heroes growing up that are Canadian.
Yeah.
So all that those opportunities aren't coming. I don't care who they are. They're not coming. You're not going to go to, the bigger teams with a little bit of money and go, here, I want my sticker on the car. And they're going to go, no, here's a 30-page contract that says this is what this is worth. Right. So that means a lot too, because if not, that's probably not going to happen for me. And, if it happened to stop tomorrow, and I hope it doesn't, it was worth everything at this point. So.
Awesome.
And if we had a bunch of, right, I think that's a big time TV time, right? From Pomona, right?
Yeah.
Pomona was a big show.
Spencer did us good there.
Yeah.
It came at a big cost to Paytons, but I've said to him a couple times now, I'm like, man, you gave me the best TV coverage I'll probably ever get.
Yeah, that's it.
I think I saw it on a Fox commercial, actually. I remember sending Brandon a picture. I was just watching something in the background of the shop and happened to look up, rewind picture.
Yeah.
Do you see this? Second shot of the slow-mo, right? There's the Ogilvie, a logo right there. So
it was funny was when we talked about doing it, and Tony says, where do you want your name on the car? I said, bud, that's your call, right? I don't care if the sticker's 2 inches around. Like, if I know it's there, like for the money I give you, you decide. right? And he goes, well, the mud flap gets good TV time. I'm like, cool. That sounds good. So it worked out.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
So it's a cool deal. It's neat
Yeah.
how the whole thing has kind of fully transitioned, right? We're not finished by any means, right? There's a lot of
for sure
evolution still to come to racing with this whole family, right? It's neat to see where we're all going, what we're gonna do. I'm excited to. I don't want to rush it by any means, but I'm excited to see in 10 years look back and how that kind of plays out for all of us, right? Because there's gonna be a lot of different things we do and places we go. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
You know, it's definitely
like I said,
cool.
We're gonna get drag weekend this week, this summer for Nick. That'll be, and it'll be a neat transition for me too, because that's kind of your street machine nationals, fastest streetcar shootout in a drag race competition, right?
Yeah.
So I'm excited to get that together and go try that, because that's another whole dynamic of what's going on, in the whole drag race world. So that'll put another spin on things for sure.
That's like another 30-minute aspect of this, because I love watching that stuff. Watching you guys build this car has just been fascinating to me, because I've fallen kind of in love with watching that stuff too. So I'm just amazed at how they make such wicked weapons survive, right?
For sure. And everybody's doing it with a different piece, right? So yeah, we're really looking forward to that. And there's going to be a lot to learn there, but I'm all about the learning, right? Just to keeps me competitive, and then like the whole technical side of what it's going to take to make this happen is exciting.
Yeah, no, it'll be cool. I'm excited for where it's all going, and really cool to have the opportunity to do all this stuff together, right? How life's kind of worked out for the both of us, and then cool for obviously Andrew being involved too, right? Just great friends that we've all made through this, and then becoming family as a whole has been really cool time.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So that's about. I think we're pretty good for tonight. I hope this isn't. Well, I'm sure this isn't the only time, Mike, that we'll have you on here. I think next time, now we've done the big introduction to it, we can get into more focused topics when we come in. I know we've had a lot of discussions about some technical conversation we all want to have that we could really dive deep into. So that's really something I want to do moving forward on the broadcast and just on the Bracket Life YouTube in general.
Yep.
But that was awesome. Glad that we finally got to do this. I feel like it's been taking a long time, right? But it was really cool.
Yeah. No, I enjoy it. I really appreciate you guys coming on. It's, what I mean? It's like I say, it's changed my life, Brandon involved, and then got to know Andrew a couple of years ago. So we're all a pretty tight group, and it's, we all got a good future together, and it's fun to have guys to lean on, right? Cause this stuff stresses you out sometimes, and it's all heading in the right direction. So I really appreciate you guys having me on.
I'll absolutely you. There's no one else I'd rather text at 9:00 at night trying to figure out idle air mixtures on
Everybody's,
just pulling my hair out. So
for sure. Anytime.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, thanks again, Mike. We appreciate it. Appreciate everybody for checking it out. And I guess I'll see you in the morning.
I'll see you in the morning.
You
I'll
just
see
look
you
out the window and see each other right now, right? Just wait.
Yeah. I'll see you in the morning. I'll see you in a couple of weeks, Andrew.
That sounds good. We'll see you then.
All right.
Yeah.
Night.
So that was great, right? I hope that Andrew, I know for yourself, I think there's a lot that you kind of got to learn about the whole experience. It's different, right? We talked about it earlier. I talked to Mike about it earlier. Then I talked to you before the show. I'm like, this has worked out better having you be able to do a lot of questions, right? Because you kind of forget how much we talk, right? Because Mike and I, you talk every day.
Of that inner circle, right?
You're exactly. Yeah. So then I've heard the stories and asked the questions and got the little details before. So it works out, and need to think about life before this, right? I said it kind of during the show. This has been all of my life. I've done the exact same thing. Is 8 Mile drag race, So then all the other experience that you have from a whole lifetime of experience doing different stuff it's really cool, and then works out really well for me because I don't always have to learn the hard way. I just ask the right questions, and then somebody else is Mike's already kind of learned it or read about it, or like I said, learned the hard way. About
has some input
things.
on it for you, right?
Yeah.
It's awesome listening to the backstories of how everyone gets to all the points that we're at, right? I mean, we're all racing together in some capacity at all the same tracks, but everyone's path there is so different, right? And just a truly unique one for the Ogilvie family, right? Just because of how it's all of them racing, right? And it wasn't something that they did growing up like you and I kind of were used to. Right? They moved into it. So I love hearing those backstories. I love hearing the origin stories, if you will, right? For everyone's path to where they're at. So it was great to kind of hear that and get filled in on them, all the things I didn't know about, right? Too. So
no, absolutely. All right, well, thank you guys, everybody, for tuning in, watching, throwing your comments up. We didn't bring too many up, we didn't really bring anybody up. We did get to see them all. We appreciate them all, and appreciate you guys all being here to check it out. A few quick notes before we wrap the show up. Race season almost here, like we've been talking about. Be sure to grab a logbook and some fuel fragrance before it starts, right? Like I said this 2 weeks ago. I've said this the last month. The logbooks, man, they sound like hotcakes.
Doing well. I know. They're a great setup, right?
I love it. Right?
I still run them with the laptop too, right? Like,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's,
I like it because you can scribble your notes quick, and then I like going back and making proper notes later on. But so do that. If you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, log in. Do it.
Please.
What do we do? Yeah, that's it.
Right.
If you're watching on Facebook, whip over to YouTube. It takes like 2 minutes. I don't even know if it takes that long.
Like, share, right?
All of that.
This is
all that stuff. Ashley, we will see you all in 2 weeks. Andrew, I'm not sure. I don't think we'll have raced by then, will we?
That's after 2-4, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, there you go. All have raced.
I'll at least
hopefully have a better. Yeah. Hopefully have a better weekend than what I did last time I went. So.
Yes.
So it should be good though.
We're not far down, but
I'm looking good. I'm looking forward to it. It's exciting. Yes. So thank you guys very much. See you all in 2 weeks. Thanks again, Mike Ogilvie, being a part of it. Appreciate sharing the stories and having lots of fun. We'll see you all soon.
Have a great night.
It isn't just what we do, it's who we are. It's how we identify ourselves.
What does bracket racing mean to me? It's my life. It's where my people are. My idols, my family, my friends.
Bracket racing is life. Bracket life.